and welcome to the all new, all different number one comics podcast. I am Dan. Sitting across from me is Bob. Say hello, Bob.
Hello, Bob.
We are a weekly comic book podcast where each and every episode we go over a brand new number one comic book, break down the story and art, give it somewhat of a review, and tell you if we think that you should move on to issue number 2 or not. This is episode number 37, by the way, just in case anybody was waiting for that.
You going to say it 37 times?
No, but I was going to go into a cool Kevin Smith rant. I don't know how many times you've watched Clerks, but 37 is a pretty important number in that movie. I won't go into why, but 37, you guys recorded 37 episodes of a podcast. Try not to record any episodes of the podcast on the way through the parking lot. You'll know what I mean if you've watched Clerks, but anyways.
I have not.
Just replace podcast with something way more vulgar, and you'll get it. But
Well, it is a Kevin Smith movie, so I'll use my imagination.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, we won't say it here. But yeah, anyways, this week we will be covering the all-new number one from DC Comic Books.
Wonder Woman!
That's right. Wonder Woman is back with a whole new volume, a whole new creative team, and a whole new number one. And Bob and I are going to take a whole new podcast episode to talk about it. But first, we're going to take a quick break. And we are back with episode number 37 of the all-new, all-different number one comics podcast. Bob, let's talk about news.
There's news?
Well, yes. There's a little bit of news. There's some news. There's news. Sure. What of it? Image has a book in development for Fiji TV called Heart Attack, if you remember that book that came out. Gosh, Bob, I don't remember exactly when that book came out, but it came out at some point pretty recently-ish. I don't know. I want to say 2019.
Okay.
Is what I'm guessing.
I do remember hearing about it. Know nothing of it.
Yeah. Look, nothing to talk about here. Just know it's in development. Another small piece of news. So that new Ultimate verse, that Ultimate Universe that's building up over at Marvel that we so much loved, issue number 1 of Ultimate Invasion of,
right,
is obviously going to be fleshed out a little bit more. There's going to be a lot more to it, more titles, more ongoing stuff, and we're going to get a whole new Ultimate Spider-Man introduced.
Are we really?
Yep. So I don't know if this will blow up like the first appearance of Miles Morales did in Ultimate Fallout 4. This will be another standout character, or if it'll just be nothing, but at least you've got the heads up now, knowing that this new Ultimate Spider-Man will appear. Maybe whenever it gets a little closer, you know what book that's coming out in or whatever. Pre-order yourself a few copies.
Is it going to be a brand new character?
Yes, a brand new character introduced. It's going to be Ultimate Spider-Man.
So it's not going to be like an existing Peter Parker. Anything. Of course, not Miles Morales.
I mean, as far as I can tell.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, it's just a brand new Ultimate Spider-Man. So there wasn't like a lot of explanation given, like if it was a brand new character, if it's an existing character it's going to be Ultimate Spider-Man. It just says a new Ultimate Spider-Man. Wow, who yawns on a podcast? I do, apparently. Also, Bob, this one's a little interesting. This is a list that Screen Rant put out. So I want to go over it with you.
Okay.
This is Screen Rant's top comic books ever.
Oh, this is going to be a controversial list.
Of course. Well, yeah, you know that. And of course, in true Screen Rant fashion, we're going to start at the bottom. So,
okay.
Number 10 being Sin City. And kind of, I'm not going to really ask you about the rankings here or anything. I won't give my opinion. They can rank whatever they want, however they want. That's fine.
Right.
Are you like partial to Sin City at all? Do you like that comic? Have you
You
ever
know,
read it?
I've actually never read it. I've seen.
Likewise.
The only thing I really know about Sin City
Mm-hmm.
is through the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
Likewise, I'm the same way. And from what I hear from people, it's a pretty faithful adaptation.
yeah, that's what I've heard too. I mean, I will say one thing: the cinematography
Mm-hmm.
is great in that
Yep.
movie, and they did a great, made a great creative choice by doing black and white.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, a lot of that borrows from the comic.
Hmm.
It's one of the I think biggest black and white comics that I can think of in recent memory. But yeah, that was published by Dark Horse, and that's obviously Frank Miller put that book out. So
Right.
so yeah, I it's not that I disagree, and again. I haven't read the book, so I can't agree or disagree.
Right.
I can't really have an opinion, but just based on the movie itself, cool stuff. Seems like a little pretentious to put it on a list, a little bit, but whatever. That's basically like saying, what are your favorite movies of all time, and then somebody puts like The Godfather on there. It just seems a little pretentious, but
Yeah, and I have a feeling, without even reading the list, that this may
yeah,
not be the last time we
yeah,
have a Frank Miller comic
hmm.
on here.
Yeah. And speaking of Frank Miller, number 9 is not a Frank Miller book, but it is Preacher. So. I don't know if you've ever read Preacher. I've read a little bit of Preacher. Like I've dipped in and out of some early issues, and
Never read Preacher.
Preacher's intense. It's I want to say Garth Ennis. I
Yeah,
believe
Garth
Garth
Ennis.
Ennis. Yeah, Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon. It's a very very cool book. Very obviously for the time like very edgy, very controversial. A big centered around like a religious disaster
Mm-hmm.
in like a small Texas town with this preacher, and then all the
Mm-hmm.
characters that come along with it.
And I know AMC made a TV series out of it.
Yeah, yep, exactly. So a pretty cool pick. I mean, we just talked about Garth Ennis on. We did a bonus episode this past week on the new Creep Show volume, and Garth Ennis had a story in there. And it was a very, without getting too political, but it's Garth Ennis, so, expect it to get a little political. But it was a very, very, abortion heavy story or whatever. Like it dealt with a lot of like,
Mm-hmm.
choice rights and abortion and stuff like that. And it almost, Garth Ennis stuff is his, I don't know exactly how to explain it, but it's like it's warming. Like I mean, it obviously it's very controversial and very like crazy and everything. But it's like whenever you walk, it's like whenever you moved out of your parents' house, and you walk back in the door, you feel at home or whatever. Like that's how I feel reading a Garth Ennis story. Like it's it's wacky, but I feel at home or whatever, to compare it to something.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, I don't know. Next up on the list is Batman: The Long Halloween. So I'm surprised. Well, I'm not surprised. I'm surprised this is so low on the list. I would assume they would put it higher. But again, a little pretentious. Is Batman: The Long Halloween one of the best Batman stories? I
I
don't really think so.
enjoyed The Long Halloween.
I like it too.
I can't. I don't know if I'd necessarily. And again, this is Screen Rant's list, so I
Sure.
mean they can put whatever they want.
Exactly.
But I can't necessarily say I'd put it in my top 10 list. I mean, it honestly wouldn't even be my highest rated Batman story of all time.
Sure. Likewise, I think that well, personally, I would definitely put the detective like Man Bat stuff up there as my favorite Batman stuff. But Night of Owl or sorry, the Court of Owls and all that, like all of that stuff, like I would put ahead of the Long Halloween. The New 52 Batman stuff, at least the beginning of that. There's probably even some current Batman stuff that I would put ahead of Long Halloween.
Personally, I'd put The Killing Joke
Well, I was gonna
way
say, yeah,
ahead of The Long Halloween.
yeah, way up there. Yeah, there's definitely quite a few things that I would put above Long Halloween. Not that Long Halloween's bad at all. It's good. It's Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale. It's good stuff. But again, it's almost like you know this is going to be a little pretentious. So it's definitely showing itself now as that. Number 7 is Kingdom Come, the Justice League story Kingdom Come, with it's huge deconstruction of superheroes and all of that. So
Well, and I think of course we've been around before, but I have a feeling that introduced a lot of people to Alex Ross's
yes,
art
yeah,
style.
yeah. No, you're definitely right. Alex Ross, Mark Waid. So great, team up there. Really, really good team. And I don't necessarily think this book is pretentious. I'm going to keep using the word pretentious, but we're talking about Screen Rant, so it's going to happen. It's almost like if you're talking about music and you talk about Pitchfork, like it's going to be pretentious.
Right.
But I think this is the first like really great book I'm seeing on here, and I'm calling it really great mainly because of Alex Ross's artwork. It's not that I don't think the story is good. I think it's really good, and I know Mark Waid really knows how to tell a story. But I think that with the hindsight of it being 2023, I'm done with the deconstruction thing, dude. I hate it. I think it's so overdone. Like I don't want to hear any deconstructed superhero things. Like it's boring to me.
Do you think Kingdom Come is the best version?
I don't know. It's probably one of the most popular versions. I don't know if it's the best. I would have trouble thinking of a best right now because I'm super jaded on it. It's hard to even think of anything. But that's a good question. I'll have to really think about that one. Now, next up on the list, and I know you see it here on my screen, and yeah, dude, I'm sorry. I love Alan Moore. Alan Moore is good. This is not one of the best comic book stories of all time. I'm sorry. V for Vendetta is not one of the best comic book stories of all time.
And I definitely can't say because I've never read the comic. I've only seen the movie.
Mm-hmm. But it's pretty. It holds
it's
up.
pretty faithful adaptation
Sure.
as well.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, just based off of that, I mean, could I put it on my? Could I put it on my? I probably wouldn't put it on my list.
It's a little cringy, and it's a little I don't know. I'm seeing like a huge theme here though. Like they're obviously staying away from superhero stuff. There, it's one of those lists that has a problem with superhero properties, so it's going to do everything it can to uplift the non-superhero thing and make it seem like that's the point of comic books, which I mean there's a place for that, of course, but there's some amazing superhero stories out there that this stuff doesn't even eclipse. So
well, to me, and of course, I haven't seen the list, so I don't know what's.
I haven't either. We're doing this live,
yeah,
so
I don't know what's past V for Vendetta, but for me, this is kind of like the Oscar picks.
Exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm.
The Oscar picks are always going to be movies that nobody has seen.
Yep.
And are always artsy and just dialogue driven and
Yep.
I mean it's just not the movies that people have actually seen.
Yeah. No, I agree. Look, I get what you're saying, but I mean, a lot of people have read V for Vendetta for sure. It's Alan Moore, but okay, well, good. Number 5 is The Killing Joke. So
Okay.
I think we've already established that we agree with that pick.
Yeah, definitely. The Killing Joke. If you have not read it by now,
Yep.
please go out and get one of the 13, 14 by this point printings they have because it is seriously, I mean, as far as Batman comics go, it may actually be one of, if not the best.
Yeah, I agree.
Batman they've told.
Yeah, definitely. This was. I remember getting my first copy of this in a $5 bin somewhere, and it was the first printing.
Right.
And I picked that up for like $5. I want to say this was.
That had to be in the 90s.
Well, I think it was like the very late 90s,
Okay.
98, 99,
Okay.
something like that. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, I think it was very late. But yeah, I picked this up, and again, never being like a huge Batman fan. Like I like Batman, like I read some Batman stuff, but I'm not. I don't go out and buy every Batman thing, every
Right.
title, every one shot,
Right.
whatever. So this was like more so like picked up because I had heard so much about it,
Hmm.
and I picked it up, and then I thought to myself, from what I remember, it's about like what it's like almost 50 pages, like 46 pages or so.
Right.
Small like graphic novel, like one shot type of thing. So I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting like a nice thick trade basically, and I was like, oh, this is small. This is like a double sized issue basically, and I remember picking it up, opening it up, and reading through it, and then just being like, holy shit, what did I just read? Very perplexed. And I was like, this is really, really good.
Yep.
Batman, like, you can tell a really good Batman story. And I wasn't so sure at that point in my life that you could tell a really good Batman story. I think that I was just like, this is a boring, nothing character. It's a rich dude with a bunch of gadgets, and who cares?
Mm-hmm.
If anything, I felt that the portrayal of the animated series, I was like, well, this is the interesting Batman. What's on the pages is not interesting at all.
Right.
And then this obviously put my mind in I don't know, another direction or whatever. But yeah, I was like, wow, you can tell a very compelling Batman story. And speaking of Batman stories, next up is Batman Year One. So basically the Batman origin story here. Batman Year One. Um, I'm sorry. Again, I don't put this anywhere near a top 10 list. It's good. It's fine. It's cool. I get how you take that Batman that everybody's known and loved for such a long time, and then go to like a Year One. It's a cool concept. I don't. I personally don't think that the execution is that good to where it belongs as number 4 on the top 10 list.
Right. I'm definitely not going to put it ahead of the Killing Joke.
Yeah, no way in hell.
The Killing Joke is always going to be high on my list.
I'm not even going to put it ahead of the Long Halloween, to tell you the truth. I feel like Long Halloween's much more iconic than Year One. Year One has some really good ideas in it. Definitely, there's definitely good like source material there or whatever. There's stuff to pull from, and they have, of course, when adapting movies, when doing other stuff with Batman. But I don't see this as number 4. I think I do disagree with this one. Again, with all that being said, we're going to disagree with some of it. It's fine. Number 3, The Sandman.
I've never read The Sandman. Never read it.
I've read some Sandman. I've dipped in and out of Sandman, just kind of like I have with Preacher.
I've heard from a lot of people it's really good though.
It is really good, but the problem is like the same thing as Preacher for me. Like I've dipped in and out because it doesn't hold my interest enough for me to sit there and read it. Like now,
it's a little too slow.
It's not that it's too slow. I mean, it's big in scope, and it's building this huge universe and everything, and it's great storytelling, but it's just there's too much going on for me. I think that when I think of things that I haven't read that I've just been engulfed by, that really, really did something for me. I remember first picking up like, that first trade of Why the Last Man, and that just blew my mind. Like I couldn't put it down. Like the second I was done with it, I opened it back up to the first page and read it again, and then had to go out and find volume 2 and so on. Like, and I had to keep following it because it's such a compelling story to me.
Right.
Things like Why the Last Man, like Saga, that kind of stuff for me is something that I can just really, really get behind. Sandman is cool, but it's so all over the place. There's just a lot going on in this book, but it is a cool book. Again, personally, it would not be on my top 10 list, but it is a cool book. And here we go, Bob. I was wondering if this would be number 1 or number 2. Batman: The Dark Knight Returns.
Told you it wouldn't be the last time we hear from Frank Miller.
Yeah, of course not. Not the last time we hear from Batman, from Frank Miller, The Dark Knight Returns. Wow. I don't know how to feel about this one. This is
I can't. It's one of those. I can't necessarily say I agree, but I can't necessarily say I disagree.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. That makes
I'm
sense.
kind of on the fence because I know historically it's one of everybody's top comics of all time,
Mm-hmm.
and rightfully so.
Yes.
But I mean, just for me, I've read it. Movie aside,
Mm-hmm.
because the movie was just so so.
Yes.
I've read it. I can't say I'd put it on my. It's like the Long Halloween. I can't say I'd put it on my top 10 list.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think other than the Killing Joke, we're kind of echoing that about everything Batman. Like, does it belong on a top 10 list, or is it? I hate to keep relating it this way or whatever, but is it that whole whenever a film snob thinks about movies, they always have to talk about The Godfather. It always has to be, on their list.
Yeah.
Every time you talk about comic books, Batman has to be there, a million times because Batman is just so iconic and so important to comic books or whatever. And I'm not saying that he's not, but I mean, look at this list so far. We've gone through 9 entries. There's no Superman on this list. There's no Spider-Man. Like,
Well,
there's
yeah,
no X-Men. You're telling me that none of those are
I was gonna say, how many Marvel have we had so far?
none?
They've all been DC programs.
Yes, yes. Which again, like it's that pretentiousness. It's that well, this is for kids. This is superhero stuff. This is whatever. Like, well, I mean, I'm sorry. That's kind of the foundation that comic books rest on. It's like the people that have a problem with the MCU, but they want to see comic book movies. Like
Yeah.
this is the only reason that comic book movies exist in the fashion that they exist because the MCU did so well.
Before you go on
Yes.
to reveal what number one is, I have a feeling I know what number one is, just based off of what we've seen from the rest of this list.
So, do you want to throw it out there before I announce it? That's the question.
Yeah, I'll throw it out there. I'm gonna throw out Watchmen.
Yeah, that would be very. Look, I have not looked at this list at all.
Right. Let's preface that by saying we have no knowledge of this list.
Yeah, well, I sprung this on you, so you definitely
You
have
did.
no knowledge of
You
it.
did.
But yeah, it's almost like how could it not be Watchmen?
Right.
It would be very, very interesting if it wasn't, to see what it was.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what else it could be.
I mean, because if I scroll down to number 1 and it's the death of Gwen Stacy, then I'm going to be very excited. But I don't see that happening. So here we go, Bob. Drum roll, please. Watchmen. There you go. All right, Bob. Yeah, Watchmen, Dave Gibbons, John Higgins, Alan Moore, and again, the deconstruction.
I was about to say, talk about the deconstruction of superheroes.
Yeah, this is it's whole. Yeah, Jesus Christ, I don't know. Okay, so here goes then.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read
Hot
Watchmen?
take, people.
Yeah, I'm not going to give a hot take. Have you read Watchmen?
I have.
Okay.
I've read Watchmen. I've seen the movie.
Let me tell you this. I've seen the movie also. I've also watched a few episodes of the series, and I've read the comics. Back in the day, I want to say 2003, 2004,
Mm-hmm.
I thought it very, very important to read Watchmen. I was like, okay, everyone talks about Watchmen. It's very important. It's Alan Moore. I love Alan Moore. But the caveat to loving Alan Moore is I love Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. I don't know if I love anything else Alan Moore has done. But I'm like, okay, this has to be read. So I open Watchmen and I begin to read, and I'm so bored out of my mind, and I hate it. And I hate the paneling and the layout.
Right.
Because I'm sorry, look, we'll get into Wonder Woman in a little bit, but the layout, the paneling there with the news anchors and everything, I was like, shit, it's Watchmen. I hate the way that the book is set up.
My question to you is, How do you think Watchmen as a comic has aged?
Horribly.
Do you think it was one of those, when it first came out, it was groundbreaking?
Yeah, of course,
But now that you look at it now, it's kind of like,
yeah.
I mean, it's still good, but it's nothing like.
Well, and it's super interesting that you say that because all of these proto political whatever's going on in these comics, especially stuff like V for Vendetta and stuff like that.
V for Vendetta was definitely.
Yeah, I agree that they were probably very groundbreaking, at the time and
Right.
whatever, looking at society in a certain way, deconstructing the superhero, blah blah blah, all the stuff that they're doing, but does that make it one of the greatest things ever because it was groundbreaking at the time? Or, I mean, can people build upon that and do something, new and better and everything? I think, again, I think it's very pretentious to just say, well, this thing did something, so therefore it is the great. No, it's not. That doesn't make something the greatest of all time.
Right.
Watchmen, look, and I will say this, just to earn some street cred back. Once I finished Watchmen and really absorbed it and everything, I did like the story there. I think that it was very good. I understand Alan Moore is a very good writer, and he really knows what he's doing, and he comes up with some really, really cool concepts that I could never even imagine. But with that being said, this is not, for me personally, this is not one of the greatest comic books of all time. This wouldn't make it on my top 10 list at all. It's good. It's just... Again, man, like you said, you could predict it from the very beginning what it was going to be. It's putting The Godfather on your top 10 movie list. It's so boring and vanilla. It's so predictable.
So so this list is literally the Oscar picks of comics.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all it is. Which, good for them. They can do whatever they want. And Bob and I are not taking that right away from anybody, as you know. But... we just thought, why not discuss it a little bit? So, so we'll get out of that, get out of our hot takes here. And the last little bit of news I have, because we are hitting the 27-minute mark here before we've even gotten into the comic. But Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara. Yes, come on, Bob.
Okay.
Interject, please.
Funny thing you bring this up.
Yes.
Because...
Oh, you've got it right there on your screen as well.
do.
Nice. Yeah, I love this news, dude. This is so cool. I had to talk about it.
I just saw the picture
and
was like, oh man, I hope Dan has seen this.
Oh yeah. So what Bob is referring to is this amazing looking cover with a I don't even know what to call that man thing on the cover there, but
techno thing.
Yeah, sure.
Thing.
Yeah, which, I mean, you're just going to have to Google it or look it up to see what we're talking about. But yeah, Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099 is getting a new series putting him up against Marvel horror icons. There's a 5-part mini, but it seems to go through different titles, so I think they're one-shots. I'm not too sure exactly how they do this, but it begins in January with Marvel's Zombies 2099, and then goes over to Lunar Tomb of Dracula, Werewolf Unleashed, Tomorrow's Terror Incorporated, and finally Rebirth of the Man-Thing. God, I can't wait. This sounds so cool.
How many copies are you getting?
Jeez, dude, I hope there's 20 variant covers for it, and then a 1 in 10, a 1 in 25, a 1 in 30. Give me every incentive because I will buy all of them.
I think he likes Man-Thing, folks.
Just a little too much, but yeah, such a now talk about top 10 list. I can do a top 10 Man-Thing if that's what we're waiting for. But yes, really, really cool. I really like Miguel O'Hara. Spider-Man 2099, really, really cool character. And to put him up against all of this horror-related stuff, dude, that's my wheelhouse right there. I'm so excited for this. So this is going to be really cool. So yeah, I had to, at the very least, announce that. I'm so happy you had it up on your screen as well. That's super cool. Out of the news, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. And we are back with episode number 37 of the All New, All Different #1 Comics podcast. Bob, let's talk about Some new comic books that dropped this week in local comic book shops. We had from Marvel Comics, and this was like the hot book of the week. Everybody was, trying to get a copy. What is it? Penguin and Diamond both decided to do a one per store thank you variant of Wolverine issue number 37. Polybagged, really cool cover. I'd show you mine. It was sitting there, but I put it away in a short box over there somewhere.
Did you take it out of the bag?
I didn't take it out of the bag, but it did arrive from Penguin with this nice like 1/4 inch like color breaking spine tick. So yeah, that kind of sucked. But look, if anyone from Penguin's listening, love you guys. You're amazing. Please, for the love of God, start putting a backing board with your comics. Like, that's all you got to do. I understand you put them in those cool little cardboard mailers with all the, wrap around it and everything, styrofoam wrap. It needs a backing board.
That is one of my biggest pet peeves whenever I go comic hunting.
Yep.
And I dig through a box.
Mm-hmm.
And comics are in bags without boards. That is my biggest pet peeve about comics. Put your comics with backing boards.
Yeah, please, for the love of God. I mean, just do it. I don't even know what else to say. Just do it. Like it just ruins the comic.
It's common sense.
Yeah, it ruins it. And I get it for, you're going dollar bin digging or whatever, and you're just picking up some reader copies of things, and you're picking up a comic just to read it, not collect. Like, okay, fine. Those can be trash if you want. You're putting out a one per store thank you variant. So that way, I mean, essentially, it's so your store can give it away to like a value customer, or so they can sell it for a high price or whatever.
Right.
And how do you expect them to do that when the comic gets ruined in transit?
Right.
Like, they can't. So either way, just wanted to throw that out there. That is a one per store. So I'm assuming by the time this is published, all of those will be gone, but you can check the secondary market, see if a friend's got one, whatever. If you really love Wolverine, and I think it's a Greg Capullo cover. Yes. The reason for it is it's celebrating Greg Capullo's return to Marvel, so that's why he did the exclusive cover for it. But yeah, if you really love Greg Capullo, whatever, either way, that's out there. We got Predator versus Wolverine, #1, a big book that Bob stoked about. I was all on board for this one until I realized it was an $8 cover price, and I did skip it for that reason. I just didn't want to invest that much in it.
And it's got 1,000 different variants.
Oh yeah, thousands. We also got a new volume of Captain America #1. So we've got Captain America #1 coming out the same week as Wonder Woman #1. What's going on here? We got Star Wars Dark Droid D Squad. We talked about this last week. Really, really cool D Squad, D List, led by R2D2.
I'm looking forward to reading my copy.
Yeah, this one sounds so cool. Sounds so fun. Also, this one sounds like a lot of fun. This is the Uncanny Spider-Man. This is Nightcrawler Spider-Man. So cool. Cannot wait. We also got a new What If Dark with What If Dark Carnage. And then we got our X-Men annual #1, of course, the Contest of Chaos, crossover, tie-in, whatever you call that. From Image Comics, we finally got Hexagon Bridge. It actually came out this time, so that's out there. We got Jack Kirby's Star Warriors and Junior Baker, The Righteous Faker. That's a
title.
Yeah, it sure as hell is. From Boom Studios, we got Rare Flavors, and Bob, let me ask you this because you're much more cultured and better at reading than me.
Yeah, okay.
Whenever you do like the British version of like flavors or colors and you have that fancy U in there somewhere, do I still just pronounce it flavors?
Yeah, I would think so.
Okay. I mean, I do it with a British accent, but I don't think I can do a very good British accent.
Even with the U, I've never heard it pronounced any other way, so I think they just...
Flavors.
Yeah. I mean, they do call, liquors.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Flavors. So we've got that. We've got Something is Killing the Children, issue number 33. Book just keeps doing well, so awesome for that. From DC Comics, we got Batman Superman World's Finest 19, of course, with the origin of Batman and Superman's first team up. Yay, hooray. We got Green Lantern War Journal taking a page out of Punisher, I guess, there.
Which I must say, has a very cool variant cover.
Is that the dog tag one?
The glow in the dark.
Yeah, super cool. Agreed. And finally, we got Superman 6, first appearance of the Chained. The Chained being a Doomsday level threat. I'm actually sad I forgot to pick up a copy of that, but I think I'll.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why it wasn't in my pool, and I didn't think to grab it. But hopefully, they're still out there to grab.
I'm sure there will be. There was about 5 or 6 variants on.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always plenty of Superman.
Right.
Thankfully, if you're looking for Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, it doesn't usually sell out to the point where you can't get a copy. So at least there's always that. That wraps up the new books for this week. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be back to break down Wonder Woman issue number 1. And we are back. Bob, let's talk about this book. We have DC Comics' newest incarnation of Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman number 1. Of course, this one is written by Tom King, and it's illustrated by Sampier. Help me with the Daniel Sampier.
Sampier.
Okay, good. Daniel Sampier, and yeah. A new incarnation of Wonder Woman, a new volume here, of course, written by Tom King. So if that's controversial for you, then here we go. But I'm going to read the synopsis really quick from DC's website. The Amazon warrior is now a wanted outlaw. A new era begins for the Amazon warrior. From superstar team of Tom King and Daniel Sampier. After a mysterious Amazonian is accused of mass murder, Congress passes the Amazon Safety Act, barring all Amazons from the U.S. To carry out their plans, the government starts a task force, the Amazon Extradition Entity. I can't say that word, but extradition. I don't know. AXE to be, for that. To remove those who don't comply, by any means necessary. Now, in her search for the truth behind the killing, Wonder Woman finds herself an outlaw in the world she swore to protect. Writer Tom King of Batman, Mr. Miracle, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and superstar artist in the making Daniel Sampier, who also worked on Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths and Action Comics, joins forces for this action-packed relaunch and the beginning of what will undoubtedly become a groundbreaking run on the character. Bob, I will not go through Tom King's back catalog or anything. We would be here forever and ever.
This would be a long episode if we listed all of Tom King's accolades.
Now, I will just a couple of things. Obviously, he worked on a lot of Batman, Mr. Miracle, that Strange Adventures from just a couple of years back, but and Human Target, which just ended. But you remember the Vision miniseries from Marvel? He did that,
right?
Which is something I wanted to talk about because God, that is good. He's just he's done so many cool things, and again, I'm not going to sit here and bring them all up because it's Tom King, but Daniel Sampier has worked on Injustice over at DC, Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, Injustice Ground Zero, Action Comics, Batgirl, Mortal Kombat X, one of my favorite books, Arrow, The Dark Archer, Justice League, Green Arrow, Suicide Squad, Justice League Dark, the previous volume of Wonder Woman, Birds of Prey, and the list goes on and on and on. Just know that he did a lot of DC stuff, and also one of Bob's favorite comics from Moonstone back in 2009, MILF Magnet. So,
I've never heard of it. But okay,
yeah,
we'll go with that.
Sounds like it would be one of your favorites. That's all I can say. I'm gonna try to make this very, very quick. Try to speed through my synopsis, but I do want to go over it because I feel like there's a little bit in there that's important. Wonder Woman 1 opens up with a shot at a pool hall where we meet a new Amazonian as she gets into a fight with a bunch of sexist patrons and murders all 19 of them, and different newscasts talk about the event. A task force is assembled starring Sergeant Steele called Axe. that's gathering up Amazonians and deporting them back home. The task force shows up at an Amazonian home with Cybele, I believe is her name. I don't know, a new character to me, and her wife and adopted daughter to remove them, as her wife, whose name is Nyx, gears up to fight the force and is then shot dead by them. The events have people divided, and everybody begins what Wonder Woman's stance is on it. Steel and the task force locate Wonder Woman and try to bring her in, while she spends a few pages kicking their asses. And then Steel tries his best to intimidate Wonder Woman and bring her in, but then she crushes his hand. Word gets out that the Department of Justice is going to arrest Wonder Woman, and while she talks to Steve Trevor and figure out who's orchestrating the whole thing, we are introduced to the Sovereign. So that's my synopsis there. Bob, let's unpack this thing.
Okay.
This one, I don't know. I almost feel like it's going to be more of an opinion piece and less of a breakdown that we normally do, but that's okay. I don't have any problem doing it either way. What about the story beats here?
You know, and I don't know how you felt about this, but the story beats would have been better to me if it wasn't for all that. You can't call it internal monologue, so I'll call it external monologuing.
I agree. Yeah, it's like somebody is narrating this thing
right,
to us.
Right, and that to me, I mean, that's all fun and good when you do it, you know, here and there. But I mean, sporadically. But when you have in basically every panel when you have that, you know, narration. To me, it just takes away from the beats. It takes away from the flow.
So let me ask you this then, because we could get out of the beats really quick. We don't have to talk about it too long. But how about there obviously could have been way less of this, and it's very. It's a lot of exposition in that. Do you feel like you could have followed this story? Now, just imagine the story without that in there.
Mm-hmm.
Just with the art and the dialogue through the characters and everything. Do you feel like this was needed in any way whatsoever?
I really don't.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It felt so unnecessary. I get what they're doing, because it's like somebody telling the story of this happening and it being like an important story passed down or whatever. Like, yeah, that makes sense. But like, you know, maybe weave it in and out. Maybe it's bookended or whatever. But yeah, it's so much of the story.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I know this was, you know, a bigger issue than normal.
Yes.
You know, not an oversized issue, but just a longer issue.
Yeah.
But because of all that, you know, narration, it felt like it took me twice as long to read this than it would a normal comic. I mean, you know, some comics we've done before. I mean, even last week when we did Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer.
Yes.
I flew through that.
Oh,
that maybe took me 10 minutes at most.
Yeah.
This definitely took me at least 15 minutes to read.
I agree with you. This felt like a read. Like, I felt like I was reading this, and I like. Do you ever read something and you just wonder?
Why am I looking at this? Why did I start?
No, well, I mean, just that you're looking at the clock and you're, you know, wondering how much time has passed or how long you've been, you know, invested.
That's exactly what I did too, and it's a shame because normally I enjoyed Tom King stuff.
Mm-hmm. I will say this on the front end, and I've been trying not to do this as much lately because I know the point of a review is to, you know, wait till the end to hear what somebody's thoughts are or whatever. But either way, I'm going to interject a little bit. I really like this. I enjoyed this story, and I think that it's very interesting. All the narration or whatever's going on there took me out quite a bit, but I like what's going on here. I think this is a compelling story, and I like what's being told here. But it did feel like a very long read. I'll definitely give it that.
Right.
So then the narrative, I think we can just kind of skip. We know, I mean, it's very narrative heavy. And again, I wish that they relied on the dialogue a little bit more to tell the story and less of the narrative.
Yeah, the narrative worked. I mean, you know, you had, you know, one rogue Amazon, and now it's kind of like, you know, America's against all Amazons, you know, trying to do that Superhuman Registration Act. kind of thing. So I mean, narrative works.
Yeah, the narrative definitely works here. So, so then how about the dialogue? You know, the voices of these characters. Let's strip away that narrative thought throughout the book, but just the dialogue of these characters and their voices and everything. I will say I really like Sergeant Steele
I do
in
too.
this book. Like I mean, I like to hate him. You know, let me get on the right side of that. But like, I like his portrayal. I like his voice. I like how he's just not going to take, and I mean, he's going to do whatever it takes to get the job done. Like he does not care, and that's his voice. And
And he says it early on in this book.
mm-hmm.
He says he's going to have to work with Amanda Waller.
Yep.
He does remind me of Amanda Waller.
Yeah, he kind of does. Yeah.
That just I'm the smartest person in the room. I have a contingency plan. If you don't go along with my plan A,
Yep.
I have a plan B. I have a plan C.
Yep.
And I mean, he's just so cocky because of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like his character a lot here. I think that he's got, like, from what I remember, and I mean, you and I have discussed at length that we don't have like a lot of deep DC lore or whatever, but I feel like he's like a deep cut. Like I feel like he's not somebody you see very often. He's kind of a deep cut is how I remember him. But yeah, I think the dialogue definitely works. How about the world building then? This is definitely got some world building in it.
Oh, it definitely does.
They really flesh out this world, and they bring it home too. I mean, Wonder Woman's always kind of set like in the real world or whatever, but this feels like such an American thing. Like it feels like if this were taking place in the real world or whatever, this is pretty much exactly how it would play out.
Exactly.
Which Tom King has a great understanding of that. He's an ex-CIA agent. Like he worked for the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
Tom King understands a lot of political things that we don't. A lot of government agencies and stuff like that.
Espionage works.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't like that world, so he left it and began writing or whatever. But
and it definitely shows in his work that he has a working knowledge.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, don't get me wrong. He brings it up quite often. I think that's something that a lot of people don't like about Tom King. That he's so, relies on that so heavily and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it works very well here. I think.
I mean, you gotta go with what you know.
Yeah, and it really fits this story, and it really, I like that part of it a lot. So then let's get into the art. Let's talk about what did I say his name was? Daniel Sampere. Sampier. Okay, Daniel Sampier. He's definitely got some credit to his name. I'm not sure why in the solicit he said he's a kind of an up and comer, but he's done quite a bit. So I don't know. Maybe this is supposed to really put him on the map. But how about his character design here?
I definitely enjoyed the character design. To me, this is one of those where the art definitely fits the story.
Yeah, it fits very well. I mean, love the art. Yeah,
the characters are drawn great. I mean, I have it open to Sergeant Steele, and I mean, he again just has that I'm the smartest person in the world.
Yep.
Or I'm the smartest person in the room. Kind of cocky look to him, and then you have the the senator from Montana.
Yep.
When he's talking, he's just trying to portray that good guy image. So yeah, I think the character designs work.
Yeah, and there's a few standouts for me. One being Nubia. You've got it open, our panel with her on it right now, which the design of that character looks amazing.
Right.
Two being, our end reveal of the Sovereign. There's so much detail put into the Sovereign there. And then lastly, I really like his depiction of Wonder Woman. I think that it's really a good depiction. I think that very first panel we're kind of introduced to her, I thought was a little bit of a cheapened shot. I'm not going to lie, but the rest of everything, I mean, looks wonderful. Really, really good. I really love the character design. I love the character faces. There's so much, expressed through their, faces and eyes and everything. There's a lot there to unpack. So really, really good character design. So how about the backgrounds then? This one's not super heavy with a lot of background stuff. It's kind of I mean, it's definitely got stuff there, but it's not relying
Right.
on the background as much as some of the books that we really love that do. So
Right, and speaking of backgrounds, I made it a point to open up to this panel.
yeah, the
where,
panel I was just talking about. Yep.
Yeah, the panel where we're first introduced to Wonder Woman. I mean, you see, Wonder Woman, of course, is still in the forefront.
Yep.
But I mean, there's just so much detail going on in the background.
Yes.
You have the statue marking the grave. You have the doves flying around. You have the snow in the background. I mean, you have the tree. You can see each, little branch. You can see, each dusting of snow. So
Yeah.
I mean, and this book definitely checks each box as far as I'm concerned, as far as details in the background.
Yeah, I agree. It's not super heavy, but it's there. It's very good. I would say it's even less so than something like Marvel Unleashed that we read a couple of weeks back. The Pet Adventures book. That one had like a very good amount of background detail and everything, and this has a little bit less, but. Another thing that I would like to say, you and I have talked quite a few times about that house style for the different publishers, and DC has their house style and all of that. Where do you feel like this stands as far as house style? I don't want to give too much of my opinion before I ask yours, but does this like cut above the rest? Does this kind of sit right there in the house style for you? What are your thoughts on it?
To me, if this makes any sense, it's house style without being house style. If that makes any sense.
I agree. Like it's house style plus or something for me.
Right.
Like it's a little better, but it almost seems like I explained a minute ago. Nubia, the Sovereign, Wonder Woman. Like whenever we're introduced to them, like when we have these full page panels or whatever on these characters, like it's breakout, standout, amazing art. Whenever we're in the individual panels and stuff, like it's a little better than house style. I mean, it's good. It's very good art. DC has some amazing house style, but it still kind of fits with that tone. And I wonder how much emphasis was put on these these full page spreads versus the individual panels. Like what
Right.
like I almost feel like it's just blatantly obvious that more attention was paid to those full page spreads for whatever reason. Maybe for original art reasons, or maybe that's where Daniel started, or what. I'm not sure, but
Well, either that or when you're talking about the individual panels, unfortunately, one way this book does, suffer, especially, art wise, is they have pages with, 9, 10, 11, 12 panels in it.
that's what I was saying. I got that flashback to Watchmen for a minute there when I.
But, and yeah, if you look at the full page spread with Nubia, you look at that art compared to,
the page right next to it.
Yeah, when you have the page right next to it, which has 9 different panels, I mean, you just look at it and it's like, wait a minute, those look like 2 different art styles.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. Excuse me. Yeah, and just another side tangent here, but I can't lie, and this is just a personal preference, but it when we have those evenly paced or evenly spaced panels and everything on a page, like, I'm sorry, it takes me out. Like, I really don't like it. Like, it's not. It works for the newscast at the beginning of the book,
Right.
but I don't know. Just
it's too busy.
yeah,
Too busy.
it's too busy. It's too formulaic. It's too
Right.
like I just don't like it. I don't
Right.
think it's a compelling way to tell a story in a comic book. I think that paneling and layout is part of the creative effort of a comic book, and then when you just have this very basic thing that fills a whole page evenly, it just is boring or something. It's not visually appealing to me. But again, that's just a personal preference. Last thing we want to talk about here, Bob, is I think we kind of got the locations well enough whenever we talked about the backgrounds, and this isn't really location heavy, so I don't see any point in really talking about that. But we talked about the snow and the and all of that and everything. The last thing I want to talk about is colors. We have, like with most books, we have a dedicated colorist on this book, um, which is someone that we're trying to find now. We're
Yes.
scrambling to try to find the colorist on this book. Which right now you're just in a Justice League Godzilla versus King Kong preview. So be aware there is like a 3-page preview at the end of this book.
The colorist is Tomu Mori.
Okay, well, good. Yeah, I'm good. You said it. So yeah, so how do we feel about these colors then? You got thoughts, so you go first.
just like the art I talked about, the two different what seemed like two different styles of art. I'll just turn it to that page again and get your opinion on it. The page with Nubia just seems a little more muted.
Yeah.
And skin tone ish. Then the page with all the panels just seems, a lot brighter.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get your opinion on that if you see the same thing that I see.
No, I completely agree because, like I said, whenever we're talking about the art, the characters and everything here, it almost seems like the full page spread of Nubia, the page spread of Wonder Woman, and the full page last panel of the Sovereign are outside of this book. Like, they don't seem to really fit in the same way. They seem like, I don't know, character designs or something that were interjected in here. Like, it seems it's very odd. Now, I will say I do think the colors work really well. I think the shading's really well. I like the use of color in this book and the juxtaposition of, Wonder Woman's suit against the snow and stuff like that. Like, I think the colors pop and they look really well. But I get you, it's not consistent throughout the book at all. But none of the artwork is, which is weird because I really like this artwork. But it's not a dig on any of the art. Like, it all looks wonderful, but it's not consistent. It's odd. Like, for as many books as we've covered now, this being the 37th proper episode, and then we've done bonus episodes and all of that, there's not really another book I can think of where I would say the art is very inconsistent throughout the book. Like, it's usually very consistent. So it just seems odd.
I would, I would say, just to draw a little bit of recent comparison, what is it, Alice Never After?
Yes.
Where you did have two different artists working on it, but as far as I know, for this particular issue, there was only one artist, but you can definitely tell that there's two different styles.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, a greatly big change, but if you look at it from a comic book reader's point of view who has read, multiple comics over the years, you can tell there's a difference.
Yeah, completely agreed. Like, it's noticeable enough. I don't think it doesn't take me out of the book, but it is noticeable. So I think that's that kind of wraps up our review there. Other than the most important question, Bob, is this enough to bring you back to issue number 2?
I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not greatly invested, in Wonder Woman, which is really not saying much because I really was invested in Superman and I really loved the new volume.
Yeah,
of Superman.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think the biggest reason why is just because of all the narration. It's kind of like, unless I find out that the subsequent issues don't have all that narration, because as much as I like the story and all that, if every issue has that same amount of narration, it's just gonna take me out of it quickly.
Yeah, and look, I can completely agree with that because there's nothing worse than just being taken out of a
Right.
comic like that. That
Right.
just doesn't, it really hurts. So, with that being said, I'm going to answer a little differently. I have, without a single break, picked up every single issue of Wonder Woman since the New 52 started.
Okay.
So, and for me, that's gold. Like Brian Azriello, his Wonder Woman, holy crap! And what is it, Cliff Chung? And art like just top notch. Doesn't get any better than that. That is the best Wonder Woman for me that I've ever read, that I've ever seen, and that is the pinnacle of Wonder Woman, and I love it. Um, I've picked up everything since then without a break at all. I don't plan on breaking now. And if for nothing else, just for it's like a mission now. I'm not gonna stop collecting Wonder Woman. But with that being said, as far as like, do I suggest this to our listeners? It's so hard to answer. I'm gonna say yes. I think that there's definitely a compelling story here that's unfolding, and I really really like the artwork. But I'm gonna contradict myself just a little bit at the tail end of this. I love the artwork. I love Tom King's writing. I love the story that Tom King is telling here. I don't think that Tom King and the artist work well together. I want to see a different take in this book because I feel like it's Tom King and he's got a different take on the character. And this is just too classic and it's too close to house. It's very, very, very good art, outstanding art, but it doesn't fit the tone of the book. So I would say to our listeners, give issue number 2 a shot. And if it's not at the very least as good as this, then do not continue on to issue number 3. But for me, it's added to my pool. I will be picking this up every month that it comes out. So a convoluted answer from us both, but that's where we landed on the new Wonder Woman number 1, written by Tom King. We're going to take a quick break, then we can go over the comic books that come out next week. And we are back with episode number 37 of the all-new, all-different number 1 comics podcast. Bob, hit him with some new comic books that are coming out next week.
So, before I do...
It's Bob's disclaimer time. It's Bob's disclaimer time. Won't you be Bob's neighbor?
We really need to get a proper jingle. Somebody please get on that.
I mean, please, for the love of God, we'll pay you in free comic books.
Yeah, this is true. So, just like usual, this is only, specific comics from one source, and as always, some of these may or may not be coming out because of life.
i.e. Hexagon Bridge.
What are you talking about?
That just came out.
So, I think, I'll just get the big one out of the way. I think the one that people are looking forward to, maybe not the most, this guy is looking forward to it the most.
Yeah?
Is from Image Comics, Transformers number 1.
Okay, so Transformers number 1 dropping next week. Really? I don't even see that on my listing. So, hey, there you go. Transformers number 1.
Well, again, maybe it'll come out, maybe it won't. Who knows?
Sure.
But it's on this list, so I'm putting it down there.
There you go.
From Marvel Comics, we have Black Panther number 5.
Yeah, I think we are looking at 2 different lists, Bob. I don't think we're looking at the same thing.
Are we?
I'm not getting. You might be 1 week ahead.
Okay, ignore my list because yes, I was a week ahead, folks.
Look, that's just a preview for next week's podcast. Okay, see if you tune in next week, you can hear all about Transformers number 1 and Black Panther 5.
Okay, so let's read the actual comics that are coming out. Sorry, folks. From DC, we have Power Girl number 1.
Oh man, we're getting a Power Girl. Didn't we just get like a Power Girl one shot? But yeah, this is.
I felt like we did.
I felt so too. This is the first appearance of a name that I won't be able to say. Amalok, an alien with a grudge against Kryptonians. So that doesn't sound great.
Doesn't Lobo have a grudge against Kryptonians?
Yeah, don't a lot of people have a grudge against Kryptonians? I mean, I think that's where most of the villains of the Kryptonians come from.
Yeah.
But yeah, sure, whatever.
So, one that Dan and I are looking forward to, Unstoppable Doom Patrol number 6.
Yeah, super fun book. This is the first team appearance of an all-new Flex Force.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
How many issues is this?
It's a 7-part. This is 6, so this is
kinda
the
disappointing.
penultimate.
Kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
We get Batman, Catwoman, the Gotham War, Red Hood number 1.
Bob, let me say this. As shitty as this makes me sound as a comic book commentator, reviewer, whatever, podcaster, I am going to skip this whole event. I can't do it this time. I am not doing the Gotham War. I am tired of Batman tie-in events. I'm not going to do it.
So
I'm boycotting all of it.
You're just over Batman events?
Yeah, man, I can't do it. Like, I'm so... And this one sounds so stupid.
There does seem to be, especially like, quite a number of Gotham tie-in events.
Yeah, I'm just... what do I care if Catwoman's going to try to... What is she trying to do? Like, gather up a team of villains to do something for her?
I honestly
and
don't know anything about it.
Yeah, and Batman's going to go to war with Catwoman? No, I don't want this.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry if I sound a little jaded. Not doing it.
So, the next event, are they going to get married?
Yes, and then call off the wedding at the last second. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
We have Action Comics number 1057.
This one's got a new group of meta-humans to take place of the Super Family.
The Super Family, I'm guessing being the Superman family?
Yeah.
Action Comics, one volume that will never die.
Yeah.
We have Avengers Annual number 1.
So this wraps up. This is the finale of the Contest of Chaos. The last one here, guys. You're probably going to want to pick this up. The cover looks very cool. It's got a lot of craziness going on. Yeah.
I have to say, this is an interesting finale for an event.
Yes. Very.
Being in a big volume annual.
Well, the whole event's been told through annuals. So,
this is true. This is very true. We have Ultimate Invasion number 4.
Again, this series wrapping up. Yeah, the series finale. But then we're going to go into some of those other Ultimate Universe tie-ins here, and it should be good. And like I said, we will get our super fun new Ultimate Spider-Man, whomever they may be.
I know it was only a 4-issue limited, but I mean this just seemed to fly by.
Yeah, again, it's going to be hard with the end of the year contenders there. That's all I can say.
It really will. From DC, we have Flash number 1, a new volume of Flash.
Okay, and once again, it's not that I don't get it, but was the Flash series that we were just in not part of the Dawn of DC? I guess not. I guess it was continued over from the last whatever. This is a little too confusing, DC. Do a little better. If you're going to reboot things, reboot them all at once. Why have Dawn of DC roll out months and months later after the other Dawn of DC stuff? It's just very confusing. I have no idea what's going on. But this does have the first cameo appearance of the Uncoiled.
The Uncoiled.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And finally, going back to Marvel, we have Invincible Iron Man number 10.
All right, Bob, how do you think this is going to play out? Because this one has, finally, the marriage of Tony Stark and Emma Frost. Do you see this going well? Do you see this ending well? Do you see a long, nice marriage, happy marriage, children?
Do you actually see them getting married?
I'm going to say yes. This time I am going to say yes. I think they will get married.
I mean, the children would be not only super smart, but they'd be able to turn in diamond form.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Hey, why not? Some fun stuff there.
So, yeah, those are just some of the books coming out, and ignore the first few books.
That's okay.
I just said.
Don't ignore them. Again, you got a preview of next week. It doesn't get any better than that. And as always, we've got our 3 books here on the lovely website wheelofnames.com. Always a pleasure to do business with you, Wheel of Names, not sponsored by. This week we're going to be picking from Stuff of Nightmares, Red Murder, Unnatural Order, and Crashland. Bob, let's see which one it lands on this week.
Spin that wheel and see what we're doing next week.
Oh, I'm trying. As soon as I can spin, then we'll know. I accidentally added a blank. Looks like next week we'll be doing Stuff of Nightmares, Red Murder, #1. An R.L. Stine book, which you know I'm a huge R.L. Stine fan. As you can see behind me, I have all these Goosebumps books. So
Yes.
very, very excited about that. And R.L. Stine, a favorite here of the show. That about wraps it up, Bob. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. We've had a wonderful time. As always, make sure you head over to your social media of choice and check us out. We are on Instagram at ANAD_1 Comics Podcast. On X at ANADNO Comic Pod. That's right, I didn't make a Twitter joke this time because it's just so stupid. It's not even funny anymore. You can also check us out on TikTok at ANAD1 Comics Pod. And on YouTube under the Comic Book Channel. This and every single week, we would love more than anything, I don't know how you phrase that, to give away this lovely copy of Wonder Woman #1. We have this beautiful Rose Besh cover here in our possession. And as always, Bob would love to bag and board that for you and send it over to your house free of charge. All you have to do is use the hashtag #AllNewAllDifferentNation to be entered in the giveaway to win a copy of this book.
I will use a board.
Yes, exactly. Bob uses boards, kids. Don't worry. He'll probably even double board it for you if you ask him nicely. That's it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. 37 episodes, Bob. See you guys next time.